Hello folks, this is Sullla once again. Welcome to another video for League of Legends. This game time we're going to be looking at another high elo solo queue game, and in this game we're going to be focusing on Swain as played by Quas, GG Quas as you see here. Now Quas has a bit of an interesting backstory, and for some reason we pick up this game at the 1 minute mark. I don't know why this is. This was the same thing when I looked at the game the first time. For whatever reason this replay file, actually it's not even a replay file, but anyway this recording, in any case, picks up at the 1 minute mark, so we'll just go with it from there. Anyway, a little bit about Quas, who I want to mention. Quas has recently entered the competitive scene, is currently playing now for Curse Gaming, just picked up by Curse quite recently as I record this video, has only been on with Curse for a short period of time. But Quas was someone who wasn't very well known. Basically, he just did not play ranked, only played normal games, and for that reason wasn't very well known. And kind of was underneath the radar for a long time. But finally did start to get noticed, finally did start playing ranked, and immediately jumped up towards the top of the Challenger circuit. I believe he's actually in the top 5 of Challenger right now, with not many games played, with only about like 150 to 200 games played. And anyway, so Quas was someone who had kind of gone under the radar, but is now known, is starting to get known for being a very good player, particularly in the mid lane. And Quas is someone who has some very unconventional picks. In particular, has played a fair amount of Poppy in the past, has actually played Poppy in competitive play, and plays a lot of Swain, is also known really well for Swain play. So found this recording of Quas playing in mid lane as Swain. Wow, flash down there in bottom lane. Anyway, we're mostly going to be paying attention to the mid lane, so I'm not going to be jumping around the map too much for this setup. Want to go ahead and look at how he plays Swain. I've actually got a little bit of an encounter right here as Warwick, the jungle Warwick. And by the way, you don't see jungle Warwick very often, looking to counter jungle red, but I believe he's going to get scared off on that. So we're going to look at how Quas plays Swain. Had the flash over the wall right there, so that's not a good sign. And just go ahead and look at basically this champion, who is pretty underplayed at the moment, is not an especially popular champion, has been used in competitive play before, but was not really, I don't believe was used at Worlds at all, maybe in one game, but I don't recall seeing Swain, certainly not much, if at all. Whereas Gragas, of course, being played by the opposing laner Anaratak. Gragas was played all the time at Season 3 Worlds. So anyway, a little bit about Swain. Swain is, as I said, a champion who you don't see all that often. Swain is someone who generally has a bit of trouble in the laning phase, has some weaknesses. In particular, has very weak wave clear early on in the game. Doesn't clear minion waves very well at all. Can get bullied around by a lot of other mid laners. However, he is also a champion who, if he gets strong, can become very strong indeed. So the way I put this before is, it's difficult to win lane with Swain, but if you do actually win your lane and get ahead, then he becomes very strong indeed. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at Swain. I'll go ahead and highlight his abilities while we have a moment here. First up, his passive, Carrion Renewal. Every time Swain gets a kill, he gets mana back, so anytime he kills a minion, he gets mana back. This places a premium on being able to last hit. Oh, by the way, let's keep an eye on this. First of all, we've got a Taric Roam coming in from bottom lane, the stun, then the Never Move root, and Warwick is going to slip in and egregiously kill steal that. But dead is dead, and that'll pick up an assist here in mid lane. Taric Roam OP indeed. Anyway, as I said, so gets mana back anytime he kills a unit. That is a little blue, you will see a little blue circle around Swain when he successfully last hits a minion. There it is, right there. So as I said, this places a premium on being able to last hit minions. The basic idea behind Swain is, like most other champions, you use your mana to harass the other champion you're laning against, and you use your auto attacks to last hit minions. And Swain is heavily reliant on this due to his passive, because otherwise he runs out of mana really fast. So you have to be very good mechanically to be able to last hit minions with auto attacks, because as I said, one of the weaknesses of Swain is his wave clear is very weak. This is not like Orianna, where you just cast the ball and you instantly kill the minion wave, or like a Morgana Tormented Soil or something like that. Alright, so let's look at his skills. I'm going to go ahead and highlight his E first. This is the skill that Swain players max first. Always, ever and always max this first. Torment, 75 mana, 10-second cooldown. Swain afflicts his target for magic damage over time. Deals magic damage over 4 seconds. During that affliction, the target takes increased damage from Swain's other attacks. So this is why you max this skill first. The damage is not particularly all that great, but it causes all his other skills to deal more damage. while that Torment debuff is on them. It's point and click harass. It is not a skill shot. You just need to get in range. The range is not great. It's relatively short range to use this, so you do have to get up close to the other champion to use this, but point and click harass is never bad, and as I said, it causes his other skills to deal more damage. Also causes his auto attacks to deal more damage too, as it just says, just takes 14% increased damage from Swain's attacks. So that's why everybody maxes this skill first. And let's see, just keep an eye out. I'll point out when he uses this. Now, what Quas does, the skill that he maxes second on Swain, I've gone ahead and looked at a couple of his games, is he maxes his Q second. This is Decrepify. This is also a damage over time skill. Swain sets his Raven to cripple an enemy over the next 3 seconds. The enemy takes magic damage over time. There it is, both of them right there. Torment being used and Decrepify both being used right there. As I said, they're both point and click harass, and they both deal damage over time. Let's see if Quas can get out of this Vi gank, but nope, Vi backed off, decided not to go for it. So, like I said, skills are similar. They're both relatively short range, but they are both point and click harass. There's both of them being used in combo once again, and there's a pop of the Swain ult just to get some damage. And look at the Gragas player, and our attack took a lot of harass there. That was not a good trade for Gragas. Probably wishes he had that one back. Alrighty, so Decrepify, I should mention, also slows. It starts at 20% slow. It goes up by 5% for each point in the skill. Maxes out at 40% slow with 5 points in it. So that's sort of the basic idea is right there. There's both of them again. The Decrepify and the, Torment auto damage over time were both used right there. Now, you can break the Decrepify by walking away from the skill. You can walk away from the Raven, and you will not stop taking damage, basically. So this skill, not so great for damage. It's more about getting the slow, because it sets up his final normal skill, his his W, his never move. Swain marks a target area after a short delay. Talons grab hold of enemy units, deal magic damage, and root them for 2 seconds. So this is the skill that Quas chooses to max last. It makes sense. This skill actually does deal more damage than the Q, but it makes it easier to hit your slow, makes it easier to hit that root if you hit them with the slow first. Basically, putting more points in the slow not only deals more damage, but it also makes it easier to hit that root. And now right here, Gragas trying to back, but not going to be allowed to. Quas is going to force him back out of lane. So anyway, the basic combo is toss down your E for the initial damage over time, and the bonus damage from the other skills. Toss down your E, then immediately use Q, because that slows, and then while they're slowed, it makes it easier to hit that never move root on W. So that's the basic combo. E into Q into W. Pretty straightforward. Then finally we have Swain's ultimate, a rather unique ultimate. The closest one I can compare it to is the Dr. Mundo ultimate. Anyway, this one is called Ravenous Flock. It has an initial mana cost of 25 per second, and then it keeps going up to sustain it. So this is a toggle on-off switch. When you use it, Swain transforms into the form of a raven. During that time, lesser ravens strike out at nearby enemies each second, prioritizing champions. The ravens deal magic damage and heal Swain for some of the damage dealt. So 75% of the damage dealt against champions, 25% against minions. And the cost to sustain goes up by 5 mana each second. So again, this is what makes Swain very dangerous in a long extended fight. That's what Swain is. He is a damage over time caster. He is not a burst caster. He does not burst people down quickly. He deals damage over time. When he has his ult running, the ravens are constantly dealing damage. By the way, you don't aim it. It is not a skill shot. You just pop it, and it deals damage to people around you. And while it's running, you are healing back damage. So one reason why it is very important to take Ignite when you're against Swain. So anyway, there's the Torment. That's what it looks like. You can see the debuff. And, just spamming that E harass can be enough to win some matchups. The damage is a bit low, but if you're against people who don't really know how to trade properly, you can win lanes just off of maxing E first and then clicking it on the person you're up against every time the skill's up. Anyway, there is the never move route. It's pretty easy to dodge if you can see it coming, but if someone gets crowd controlled by something else, if, for example, Warwick's in the game and Warwick jumps on somebody to ult them, or if Tariq's in the game and Tariq stuns somebody, you can then follow that up with the W never move route, and they can't really get out of it. So Swain combos well with a lot of other champions. Other champions that have hard crowd control. And as I said, he scales quite well in the late game, because when he has that ult running, the longer the game goes on, the more AP he gets, the harder it is going to be to kill him. So anyway, there is the ult running right there, and getting in some nice damage. Note that Quas is getting healed. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind is when you turn off your ult, there is a cooldown before you can turn it back on again. So note that there is a 6-second cooldown before Quas can turn that ult back on again. So when in doubt, if you're being attacked by enemies, just leave it running. However, that does lead to one of the other problems for Swain, is he tends to run out of mana. He has a lot of issues with running out of mana, and he is very blue buff dependent. So, like I said, he's not a great laner, and he gets countered pretty hard by Ignite, so keep that in mind too. As I said, he tends to get countered by Ignite. He has some good matchups, some bad matchups. For one champion that he's often portrayed as being pretty good against is Vlad. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I've heard that he can win that matchup pretty well. Actually deals pretty well with some of the champions that rely on high mobility, somebody like, say, Ahri, or somebody like Katarina, because he does have hard crowd control or root to shut them down. Like I said, but not a great laning phase, and pre-6 his wave clear is very, very weak. Anyway, right there, getting in some Gragas, harass on Gragas. Note the E and the Q come out first, and then Quas is just running his ult, and now Ana Retracts actually had to flash out of that. The Warwick is going to come in, he's going to use his ult, there's the damage over time. Quas is going to pick that out. That was very nicely played right there. Used all the skills in combination to good effect. Again, E first, followed by Q for the slow. Forced a flash out of Gragas on the W, the never move route. And then Warwick came in and cleaned up the kill. Got the crowd control, and then Quas was able to finish it off with, I believe, a second E came out there towards the end of that. Like I said, though, doesn't have great wave clear, so he can get bullied around, particularly early in the game. Alright, anyway, in any case, larger picture, we've got a dragon fight going on here. It is warded by red team. You can see they have the pink. They know that this is going on. So Quas is going to look to go after Twitch. Looks like that's his main target first. Needs to get a good root here. There comes down the threshold. That root's going to hit 2 people, so that's pretty good. But look what's happened to Quas. He's run out of mana. And again, I mentioned that's one of the weaknesses of Swain. So does get the kill on Thresh, but ran out of mana. Now, can Jinx get a kill for this reset? No, Twitch is going to flash away. No Jinx reset. Wasn't able to get that passive triggered. Now going to get cleaned up. Now's a dragon fight that just didn't go very well for Quas's blue team here. So red team's back in it, and if they pick up this dragon, they'll even this game right up off of this. Now, what I haven't been showing you is in the top lane, this Corki player has just been destroying Nidalee. Corki is... well, wait a minute. Apparently I had these two backwards the whole time. Sorry about that. Anyway, Corki is 300, 117 CS against Nidalee 130, 58 CS. Has already taken the tower and is pushing the second one. So Corki just absolutely destroying Nidalee. I don't know what happened in this lane. May have been a case of... oh my goodness, what was that? I wanted to show this in the video. Okay, so what was happening was this was an epic duel between Jinx, or excuse me, between Vi and this dragon, and oh, the dragon's getting really low. Need to use that smite, and dragon does get taken out, but down goes Vi at the same time. So yes, dragon picking up the kill right there. It was an epic duel, and it ended up being a 1-for-1 exchange right there. Wanted to make sure that I captured that. Sorry I didn't get that initially. But yeah, in top lane, Corki has just been destroying this lane, and that's where most of the advantage in the game is coming from for blue team. Okay, a little bit about building Swain, as I said. Max E first, then is played by Quas, at least max is Q second. I have seen people max the W second, but obviously the slow makes it easier to hit your root. So anyway, E, Q, then W is the 1-point skill, and of course maxing your ult when it is up. As far as itemizing, from what I've seen, what Quas does in terms of building Swain, starts with a Doran's Ring and 2 health pots. In this game has picked up a second Doran's Ring, doesn't always do that, but in this game picked up a second Doran's, and then sort of the key items are Rod of Ages, then into Zhonya's Hourglass, and then into Death Cap after that, and that was the build in all the games that I saw that were listed. In sort of, well, that I had information on. Anyway, right there, Gragas going to get a pretty good barrel, but that root is very well placed, and now Warwick's going to come in for the extra CC, and that's going to be enough to get that kill. So even though the Gragas player hit a nice barrel and knocked Quas back into the tower, the fact that Warwick was there really helped out. Now, once again, the EQ harass coming in. It looks like W was not off of cooldown. By the way, Never Move does have a long cooldown, especially until you put more points in the skill. 17-second cooldown. So, right there, going to hit on another root, but it's not able to be finished up. There's the EQ harass, or, once again, on Lemonade, and look how much damage he ends up taking. He lost, I guess, about roughly 400 health just from those 2 skills. So, another advantage of Swain is that he is a relatively low skill cap champion. He's relatively easy to play because he doesn't have a lot in the way of skill shots. His Q is point and click, his E is point and click, his ult does not need to be targeted, it just hits anyone that's close to him. And his W is the only one that you actually aim. Now that said, you have to be pretty good at last hitting with Swain. Wow, right in here, Quas is going to get a lot of damage put on him, but pops his ult, has blue buff running, is able to heal back, and it looks like they did not have an ignite. No, they did not have an ignite for that little encounter there. And you can see how level 11 Swain, 2 points in his ult, healing back. Let's see, each Raven deals about 100 magic damage. And he gets, what, 75% of that against champs? That was 3 champions there, so he was healing for most of that. Getting back, I don't know, roughly, trying to do the math here. I don't know, it's getting back a lot of health per second, basically. Let's just leave it at that. So, if you can't ignite Swain, and he's got his ult running, it is difficult to take him down. So, has clearly been winning this lane. Let's keep an eye on this. Looks like they want to go after Gragas yet again. Out goes. That is another example of that E harass, the Torment coming out. But Anna Retract, the Gragas player, wisely just retreated back to tower. Has Vi here, so it doesn't look like this is going to be another kill. And then Quas somehow feeling the Twitch pressure, able to turn around. Twitch going to get stunned. Let's see if this turns into a fight. That Never Move is not going to hit anyone, but does force a flash out of Gragas right there. So it goes ahead and retreats. And look at this, the pink word coming down saying, you know what, no more stealth ganks, Twitch. Gonna get out of here. Anyway, the focus on Twitch right now, and remember, there is a pink ward, so not gonna be able to stealth out of this. Anyway, just running that ult, a great Never Move is gonna catch Vi. In comes the Jinx rocket, not gonna hit anybody, but Corki gets both kills, roam down from top. Again, Nidalee pushed so far back, can't really get in this fight, and now the push is on in mid lane. So that was a really good sequence for the blue team. Largely set up by Corki roaming down from the top lane. But anyway, got the fight that they wanted. Didn't even have Jinx there, but didn't even matter. Jinx is way behind in bottom lane, but doesn't look like it's going to matter when Corki is that far ahead up in top lane. So anyway, overall in the game, it's about a 2,000 gold lead for the blue team. They're in good shape, but not great shape. Again, most of their advantage is based on that top lane where Corki got really far ahead. My team is like Season 1 status, except for Jinx. Except for Jinx. Yeah. People are like, except for Jinx. Why? Because they have Swain and Corki and Warwick and Taric, who are all older champions, is why he's saying that, except for Jinx. As I mentioned before, one thing that you do need to be able to do if you want to play as Swain is you do need to be able to last hit minions with your auto attack, and that's probably the hardest thing of playing him, particularly early in the game. It is difficult to farm because, like I said, you don't have wave clear early on. You know, your Q and your E are both single target. So not going to have the ability to just nuke down waves. So you have to be very good at last hitting. In particular, you're going to get shoved back to your tower quite often, and then you need to be able to last hit with your auto attack underneath the tower. If you can't do that, you're going to get out-farmed in lane, and it's going to be difficult to win. So a little bit like Kassadin in the sense that if you fall, you're likely going to lose early on, and you need to try to hang in there past the early levels while you're building that Rod of Ages, and then get into the fight later. Anyway, we've got a fight here. Looks like Vi wants to go in for this. Is she going to go ahead and charge in, use her ult? We'll see. Anyway, so there's the Swain ult being popped, and that is a good deal of healing, but it looks like Quas has been ignited. He's not going to get that kill. Does go down, and now Warwick in some trouble as well. He's going to get jumped on. Doesn't manage to come out on that. And again, feel like the difference in that little fight from the previous one we saw is Thresh had his ignite up, used his ignite. Actually, Gragas also had his ignite up. One of them used ignite. But anyway, here comes Corki to the rescue. Down goes Thresh. Now the chase is on. Taric going to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, does Corki have his Valkyrie up? Yes, he does. Chasing after the Vi player. Oh, that Phosphor Bomb does give sight. Going to flash after this one. Going to pick it up with a missile. Corki goes to 800 with the Trinity Force. And now it looks to be building an Infinity Edge. So even though I've tried to focus this particular video on Swain, really Corki is the one who's probably doing the most right now to put this team ahead. Look at that, he's 3,500 gold ahead in his lane. Now Quas is over 1,000 gold ahead in his own lane, but Corki doing a good job. Yeah, riding the Corki train, is the Warwick player just mentioned right there. So yeah, don't even really know what happened in this top lane. I guess I could go back and watch to see what happened, but yeah, something went horribly wrong there. Alright, in any case, though, back to Swain. Let's look at what Quas has picked up. Has now grabbed a needlessly large rod. The AP ratios on Swain are not great. Not as good as a lot of other AP mids, but they're not terrible either. And now Twitch is going to get jumped on. Warwick provides the crowd control. And then Jinx finishes that one off. And that's going to mean a free dragon for blue team. Something that'll help snowball this game more firmly in their favor. So that puts them, what, about 4,500 gold ahead at this point. If you want to see what the numbers look like here, so there is what the Ravenous Flock looks like. Let's see, 46 magic damage per second. I don't know exactly what that AP ratio is, but it looks like it's around 0.2, roughly speaking. Let's see, the Torment, 235 plus 183. That's pretty good. That looks like it's around 0.6 roughly, something like that. And let's see, Decrepify. Yeah, Decrepify is hard to see because it deals magic damage per time over 3 seconds. And then the Never Move, 161. So the Never Move's AP ratio is not as high. This looks like this is around, what is it, around 0.55, 0.6, somewhere around there. So anyway, just giving you sort of a rough sense. I guess if I had researched this better, I would have looked them all up before I came and did this game, but didn't go ahead doing that. Anyway, here we've got a bit of a strange play in this game. Note that their team sends 4 people to top lane. They have Gragas, Thresh, and there is a nice Gragas barrel going to go in after Corki, and they're going to get the kill on Corki. But it's really quite strange that there are so many people up here in top lane. When meanwhile, while that's going on, the blue team is pushing this lane here in mid, and you know, going to get a middle tower out of this. Let's see if they're going to be able to get this kill on Divine. No, it doesn't look like it because Quas missed his root with the W. Anyway, the Taric stun comes out. They could have stacked that a little bit better. There is the Raven slow. By the way, one thing I'll mention is when Swain came out as a champion, Riot said that they referred to, oh wow, there's the slow again. Now that is a much better use of the Never Move root. Is this going to be enough to get the kill? No, it doesn't look like it, and Taric went way, way, way too deep on that one. But anyway, one thing I wanted to mention is when Swain came out and Riot did the the champion preview video? Oh, well, I guess we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, there is the Warwick ult right into a Never Move root, and that's going to be a nice kill. So anyway, those two champions combining together quite well. And now Nidalee is the one in trouble, but has a Thresh Lantern, gets over the wall, and is okay. When this champion came out, Riot referred to the Q skill, the Decrepify bird skill. They referred to this as the laser bird, and everybody thought that was pretty amusing, but I don't know how many people actually remember that. Anyway, Thresh going a little bit too far, and just going to get burned down by the damage over time coming out from Quas' Swain. And meanwhile, while that was going on, Corki just absolutely exploded Twitch at the same time. So a 2 for 0, and Gragas still dead. So had a temporary 5-on-2 power play there, but Gragas now back in it. So wow, what was that? Somebody just sounded like somebody just flashed right there. In any case, that tower in mid is exposed. With double AD, they're able to push it. One other interesting thing about the way this team comp is set up. So the blue team has 2 ADs running. They have, of course, Corki, and they also have what is it? Jinx down in the bottom lane. Looks like this fight, well, we'll get back to that point. Anyway, over there, Taric's going to get bursted down. Now Corki is Valkyried in, maybe a little bit over-aggressive. That's going to be a double kill for Gragas, but Swain has now entered the battle. And that slow is going to hit by not going to be enough to continue chasing. It's actually a 2 for 1 for red team. Anyway, as I said, they have 2 ADs. So one thing that they're using is by having Warwick as their jungler. Warwick's W is actually a really, really good skill. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the Hunter's Call here. Keeping an eye on this fight. Let's see, is this going to turn into another kill? Oh, unfortunately for Quas, he misses that Never Move root on the W. Going to have to flash out, but looks like he's okay. Anyway, as I said, so for Warwick's W, his Hunter's Call, this is an area of effect in AoE attack speed buff. You can see right here, increases Warwick's attack speed by 70%, and all nearby friendly champions get half that for 10 seconds. This is actually a huge attack speed buff. So Warwick actually does really well with a double AD team comp because his W, his Hunter's Call, once you get some cooldown reduction, you can keep this running 100% of the time, and you're giving both of your ADs something like what is it? I think at max rank this is like a 45. It's either 40 or 45% attack speed when you have this at max rank. Anyway, right there, oh, Taric's gonna flash out. Warwick gonna use his ult, and now he's got the Warwick, what is it, the Warwick Blood Scent chasing after that, so that's going to be 1 kill. Now Vi desperately trying to get out, and there's another stun, so this might be another kill. No, Vi's going to flash over the wall, but that was a good chase. Twitch had to farm bottom lane, so that will once again open up the mid tower to this particular push. And right there, wow, Taric was tanking that tower. He was going to die in another tower shot. Anyway, so Quas has picked up now the Zhonya's Hourglass. Zhonya's a very nice item on Swain because, as with the Karthus Defile, the Swain ultimate will keep running while you're in stasis, so you will actually continue to have the Ravens fly out while you are in the stasis from Zhonya's. And I think that we get to see that at some point in this particular replay, if I remember it, but just keep an eye on that, and we'll come back to that. So anyway, that was an inhib down for blue team, and right here, is somebody going to get pulled? Yes, actually, Corki's going to get grabbed, but the fight is on, and the numbers are not on the side of the red team right here. So there is a great Never Move root. That's going to catch Vi. And right there, Thresh is going to try to flay Quas backwards, but it's not enough. Again, that damage over time, super mega death rocket flies through, doesn't hit anything. And this game is starting to get snowballed pretty hard by the blue team with that 11-2 Corki, who has Trinity and Infinity Edge. And of course by Quas' Swain, who is 7-2-4 on his own and is now slipping in to go ahead and look to steal another blue. If you have a Swain in the game, make sure to give Swain blue buff. He is very dependent on that blue buff. He needs it to keep running his ult, or he runs out of mana really, really fast. This is another reason why most Swain players build that Rod of Ages. Not only do they need the health and the ability power, but they really do need the extra mana as well. Otherwise they run out of mana a little bit too quickly. Meanwhile up here, not sure what was happening with Taric, but he just gets exploded really, really fast. Dance with me, I'm fabulous. Well, not fabulous enough, apparently. Alrighty, so going back to base, and we'll see where blue team decides to go from here. Anyway, Jinx looking to go for Dragon, but don't think that's going to happen. Not with the other team's jungler right there. Anyway, we'll see. Warwick is here as well. Bit of a standoff over the dragon here. More people starting to get sucked in. Warwick going to use that ult. Now the Jinx slow comes out. Needs to click on the Lantern, but can't manage to get on there. So Vi is going to fall. And Warwick, by the way, Warwick with red buff is pretty terrifying once he starts chasing you down. By the way, check out this Warwick build. The mobility boots plus the Zephyr. Oh, he's pretty fast. 426 base movement speed. And when his Blood Scent kicks in, gets another 25% movement speed. So yeah, once that Blood Scent kicks in, he is going to be very, very tough to stop indeed. Alrighty, as far as going back to the Swain build, note that the next item is a needlessly large rod. As I mentioned before, the build is either 1 or 2 Dorans into Rod of Ages, then Zhonya's, and then Death Cap is the build that I've seen Quas use. Not too much, not anything too crazy in terms of runes either. It looked, from what I could see, that the runes were just magic penetration reds, armor yellows, magic resist blues, and AP Quints, which is a very basic rune set. Okay, so right there, note the Zhonya's coming in. Note how Quas keeps healing through the Zhonya's. Is he going to be able to pick a kill? No, he doesn't, but Jinx is going to get a kill onto Twitch. Now, Jinx needs to get out of there, needs another reset, but it's not going to happen again. Jinx's weakness is she does not have any escapes. She's going to get bursted down. Really wonder what Taric's doing farming top lane right now, but Warwick and Corki just need to get out of here because right now this is actually a 4-on-2 over here. And Warwick's pretty much straight tank. He doesn't have much in the way of actual damage. So they really do need to get out of here. Looks like he's going in on Thresh. Is it really worth it to get a kill on the support? Well, maybe it is. They do get that kill and another kill, picking up one on Gragas. But Warwick is low. He'll get finished off by Vi. Now Corki desperately trying to kite backwards. Is he going to be able to get out of here and get another kill? No, doesn't. And that's a shutdown with a full gold bonus. So 3 sprees given away there. One reason why I'd probably say was not a worthwhile fight. That was actually a very good fight for Red Team. Helps them get back in it at least a little bit. They're still behind by quite a bit of gold, but that helps them a little bit. And the split-pushing Taric is probably not that intimidating up in top lane. Although I guess he does have a lucky pick for some reason. Typically don't see this build on Taric for whatever reason. And ward coverage actually quite good by blue team in this topside jungle. Really good. I guess we'll see. Okay, so people are starting to respawn, and let's keep an eye out for what they're up to. Right now, we've got Swain and, Swain and Jinx coming over here to provide cover for Taric, so we might see another fight up here in top lane. Thresh coming over. Thresh has got the oracles. That he needed to buy that. Definitely needed to get that. And right now, Twitch is going to go stealth. He's going to use his Blade of the Ruined King, but a flash stun sets up the never move route from Swain. And poor Twitch just gets deleted right there. Anyway, the rest of Red Team starting to show up, so it looks like we're going to have a fight. Jinx gets hooked. That's a nice play. Jinx just explodes instantly. And now the fight is on against Swain, so he is going to get engaged on. Running that ult. It's a good never move route. It looks like Quas is surely going to die here. But right there pops the Zhonya's. He's still healing through that, then flashes out, and oh, Quas is still alive. And now Warwick is in there. Quas is still healing. Finally runs out of mana. And not going to be too strong at this point, but Warwick entered the fight. They bought enough time for Corki to get up here, and this fight has turned around. So hopefully that fight was enough to give you an indication of how Swain can just tank for a very, very long time once he gets enough ability power and once he's got that Zhonya's. So Quas using the Zhonya's, flashing out at the last minute, and actually survives that fight when it looked for certain like he was going to die there. But nope, able to come through. The only thing that stopped him from fighting longer was, again, ended up running out of mana from using his ult for such a long time. And yeah, Warwick, OP dude. Yeah, Warwick, the 1-2-17 coming out from Warwick, pretty impressive. Alright, their team looked like they were maybe thinking about Baron. That was a pretty aggressive move, at least while Vi's up. Don't think they can really do that. Granted, Twitch is down in bottom lane, so they know they have the numbers advantage, but a little dicey there. Anyway, Corki going a bit far forward. Are they going to be able to pick him up? Wow, that's a nice barrel from Gragas. He's going to get that kill. And now Taric going to hit the little dazzle stun, enough to get him out. No, actually, no, not enough. Just a matter of time until Nidalee gets this with the Iceborne or a Spear. Miley will pick that up. This is actually Bruiser Nidalee, by the way, not AP Nidalee. So the Spears don't really do that much damage, but a lot more tanky and a lot harder to kill. In any case, though, Baron gets scared off. Nothing going on in terms of Baron. Red team's going to have to go back. They have to defend their base. This top lane's pushing. They still have... Oh, actually, the Inhib is getting taken down by a super minion right now. Let's see if he gets this. I don't think he will. I think somebody on Red team's going to show up and stop this. Yeah, so not going to get this. Good try, blue super minion, but not going to be enough. Got the Inhib low, not quite enough to finish it off. As far as Quas' build on Swain, he has now gone ahead and finished the death cap, so now is up to, what, roughly 500 ability power, right around there, pretty typical. There is the healing on his ult, now that he's level 16, 200 magic damage per Raven per second. He does send out up to 3, so that can be potentially up to 600 health. Of course, not factoring in magic resist or anything, but can potentially be healing for a very large amount. And then you can see the damage on the Torment, which is pretty good. Actually, Torment looks like it has, what, a 0.8 AP ratio? Looks like that's 0.8 from what I can see there. The Never Move, and then the Decrepify with the 40% slow. So anyway, watch what's going to happen right here. Actually, I'm going to slow this down so you guys can see this. So anyway, right there, Warwick runs in, flash ults onto poor Gragas. That's going to set up the damage coming in from Quas. Barrel comes out, so down goes poor Anar attack. Got Taric stunned there as well. Not much he could do about the Warwick racing in with mobility boots to ult. And now the fight is continuing. See that Thresh is getting low over here. Quas again going to get focused, but look at the healing going on through his Zhonya's ult. Or excuse me, through his Zhonya's Hourglass, right when they want to try to focus him and kill him. Pops that Hourglass, begins to heal, and again, just look at how much damage Quas is tanking. They're focusing him pretty hard, but they just can't kill him. And so that's going to be the end of this one. And, well, Red team gets melted in the team fight. It's not enough. They were, of course, pretty far behind, but not ridiculously far behind. You know, 5k gold's a very noteworthy lead, but not ridiculous. Anyway, Thresh going to try to come in, and oh, he gets the kill on Taric. Taric thought he was outside the range of the tower, but the Nexus turrets actually have slightly longer range than the other towers in the game. I think most people who've played this game for a while probably realize that. But Taric gets taken down. Thresh very happy with that kill. And that's going to be it for this one. So, as I said, wanted to go ahead and highlight a player who's sort of up and coming in the professional scene, and to look at a champion who doesn't get played that often. Now, granted, Corki kind of ran away with the show in this game. The Corki with the 16 kills and just crushed top lane. But it was a very good game, obviously, from Quas' Swain as well. He was about 2,000 gold ahead in his laning matchup, and won that one pretty decisively. Bottom lane actually lost. Twitch actually won the bottom lane. So I had to carry that bottom lane. But overall, some interesting Swain play, and hopefully shows what Swain can do if he gets ahead, and how he can just sit there and soak up damage in a team fight in a way that very few AP mids can do. That's sort of one of his unique roles. So if you're going to play a double AD team comp, you know, you have someone like Corki in top lane, and you need more tankiness, more of a front line, Swain would be a good pick for the mid. In any case, once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, hoping people enjoyed this video and are enjoying looking at some of these high elo games. Until next time, see you guys later, have a great week.